All right, guys. So, um, I tried using Firefox so that I could use an ad blocker for YouTube, but either the ad blocker or Firefox is causing it to where StreamYard can't share the screen. I can't choose the actual tab on Firefox to show videos, so it kind of defeats the entire purpose. So there may be ads. There's not much I can do about it for now, at least until I figure out something that'll work better. But first I've got a little information that frickin' David Packman has that he's sharing that actually was a whole issue between Elon Musk and Sam Harris. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch this.
All right, I want to delve into something that's a little different. Sam Harris recently took some heat for the things he said about Elon Musk when interviewed by Bill Maher on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast. And in the aftermath of that criticism, Sam Harris, just a couple days ago, 36 hours ago, put out a piece on his Substack called The Trouble with Elon. I want to focus in on a specific part of this piece, although I encourage you to read all of it. And even if you are not a fan of Sam Harris's, what I want you to think about is, based on everything we know about Sam and everything we know about Elon Musk, is there any doubt in your mind that Sam Harris is telling the truth about the texts that he exchanged with Elon Musk? And I'll give you where I'm kind of going with this. These text message exchanges that we're about to look at expose the degree to which Musk is unstable, dangerous, and should have no position of power or any role adjacent to someone as powerful as the president of the United States. If anything, these texts that Sam describes confirm that Musk needs to be pushed as far from power as possible, as quickly as possible. So let's check this out. Okay, here is Sam's explanation of how his friendship with Elon kind of imploded. He says, when COVID first invaded our lives in March of 2020, Elon started tweeting in ways I feared would harm his reputation. I also worried his tweets might exacerbate the coming public health emergency. Italy had already fallen off a cliff, and Elon shared the following opinion with his tens of millions of fans. The coronavirus panic is dumb. As a concerned friend, I sent him a private text. This is Sam's text to Elon. Hey, brother, I really think you need to walk back your coronavirus tweet. I know there's a way to parse it that makes sense. Panic is always dumb. But I fear that's not the way most people are reading it. You have an enormous platform. Much of the world looks to you as an authority on all things technical. Coronavirus is a very big deal. And if we don't get our act together, we're going to look just like Italy very soon. If you want to turn some engineers loose on the problem, now would be a good time for a breakthrough in the production of ventilators. Sam goes on to say, Elon's response was, I believe, the first discordant note ever struck in our friendship. Sam, you of all people should not be concerned about this. He included a link to a page on the CDC website showing COVID was not among the top 100 causes of death in the United States. This was a patently silly point to make in the first days of a pandemic. We continued exchanging texts for at least 2 hours. If I hadn't known that I was communicating with Elon Musk, I would have thought I was debating someone who lacked any understanding of basic scientific and mathematical concepts like exponential curves. Okay. Sam goes on to say, and I'm paraphrasing here, that Elon and he did not converge on their views of epidemiology, but they made a compromise, a bet. Elon bet me $1 million to be given to charity against a bottle of fancy tequila, $1,000, that we wouldn't see as many as 35,000 cases of COVID in the US. Cases, not deaths. The terms of the bet reflected what was in his estimation, the near certainty, 1,000 to 1, that he was right. Having already heard credible estimates that there could be 1 million deaths from COVID, estimates that proved fairly accurate, I thought the terms of the bet ridiculous and quite unfair to Elon. I offered to spot him 2 orders of magnitude. I was confident we'd soon have 3.5 million cases of COVID in the US. Elon accused me of having lost my mind and insisted we stick with 35,000. Sam goes on to explain that there was sporadic communication over the next few weeks. Cases grew. Sam would provide data and Elon would dismiss it. A few weeks later, when the CDC website finally reported 35,000 deaths, not cases, deaths, and 600,000 cases, I sent Elon the following text. Is 35,000 deaths plus 600,000 cases more than 35,000 cases? This text appears to have ended our friendship. Elon never responded, and it was not long before he started maligning me on Twitter for a variety of imaginary offensive. This continues with Sam talking about getting off of Twitter and other things, but there is one other key line here where Sam says, I bet that anyone who knows us both knows that I am telling the truth. It is, of course, obvious that Sam Harris is indeed telling the truth. The idea that he would fabricate these communications out of thin air now, years after these exchanges, to criticize Elon Musk, I mean, it's just not, it makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't pass the sniff test. And you have to consider, if Elon Musk was so obviously wrong, and think back to that time, Elon thought there wouldn't be 35,000 cases. It was abundantly clear that even if all the estimates were really off, there were still going to be more than 35,000 cases. How can a guy who got something in front of his face so obviously so wrong ever be trusted to help the president of the United States make important decisions? But then I would go even further. Forget about the fact that he was wrong. What about the fact that his reaction after making a bet, he's got hundreds of billions and $1 million to a charity. And when Sam says, I kind of am here to collect on it, right? I mean, I was right by a lot. The friendship is over. He doesn't respond, and he starts publicly attacking Sam Harris. You don't have to be a defender of Sam Harris to recognize that this is not a guy, Elon Musk, who should be anywhere near any of the access that he's currently getting, traveling with Trump to France and so on. This is just Elon. Just think about all the other incompetent folks that are being pulled into Trump's orbit. Terrifying, terrifying stuff. Once again,
Yeah. So kind of early on during this whole deal, you would go online during the beginning stages of COVID, and all of these people get offended when I say it, but I don't have an easier way of explaining it. Right wingers in general. Right wingers were all over the internet saying, oh, it's the flu. It's just like the flu. Like, a majority of the right wingers that I know of from chat were saying this exact same thing. I'm sure many of you remember it. It was hilarious. And this is another example of this conspiratorial thinking that, like, they'll oftentimes say, think for yourselves, because they distrust authority. Now, what happens when you completely distrust all authority? Well, you shut out all of the knowledge that they have. It's worth noting that these people are experts in their field for a reason. They put in insane amounts of time to accumulate the knowledge they need to become experts in the first place. And then they set out and study things to put out their expert opinion, and there's peer review for a reason. You actually get points in science for disproving one of your peers' work. Like, you can't even, I'm not even going to jump into that, but like, it's hilarious that people have this mindset that, like, everything that you're told, if it comes from some sort of like expert, then it's like part of this system of like fake whatever. Like, if that's your line, then you throw away all of the mountains of evidence that we use. Like, we all have to use. No one learns everything in their lifetime. You can't. It's not possible. Like, you have to stand on the shoulders of the people that came before you and then move on from there. And then you progress. But these people don't trust anything. So they start thinking that, like, insane shit's true. They tend to go on about like alien abduction stories and stuff that are like highly debunked, like hilarious stuff. They'll go on to like these are the things that they focus on that matter to them, like flat Earth, because they don't trust in any actual science. They believe in QAnon shit, like fucking insanity. Like, there's no polite way to say it. They're morons. They're honestly morons. And anyway, I'm going into a tangent about right wingers, or these specific type of right wingers in general. So need to narrow it down to COVID. So all of these right wingers were online saying that it's basically the flu. Like, no one's dying. Like, I can't believe people are falling for this. And there's always like a right wing narrative going on during important events. And almost always it's like the dumbest thing you could possibly think of. But everybody was spewing this shit. And Elon fell for it. Elon jumped on the whole right-wing thing, and he's still doing it to this day, which is making him look like an absolute idiot. Well, he is an idiot, but Sam was way too diplomatic toward Elon, in my opinion. I understand he was trying to get through to him, and that's the only way to go. Because if you're just combative, then he's just going to do what he ended up doing in the end anyway. But yeah, he was very generous with him and saying that, like, yeah, I get it. Like, panicking about anything is dumb, which is true. But he's being very light, and like some of the claims that Elon made during the time and saying that like it's all a joke. And then he jumped on like his high horse towards Sam Harris and was like, well, obviously I'm right. Like you fell for this whole fucking mind virus shit where they're like selling you like this crazy story about how COVID-19 is like killing all these people in Italy and all this. And he's like, I can't believe you've fallen for it, Sam. I tell you what. And then he made that insane bet. And I truly believe that he was absolutely confident because he follows this right-wing bullshit and he got sucked into it. And he's like incapable of determining what's fact or fiction. And of course he didn't pay up. He didn't just lose, he lost by massive margin. Like that, this was early on, and the death rate was already above the case rate, which was what the bet was already about. Like it's just hilarious. It's also sad, but anyway. So I think that covers it. Basically, you could summarize it in the same way that David Pakman did. Like this person, Elon Musk, should be nowhere near power. Also, this goes back into a previous video not too long ago that I made explaining why Elon Musk is a moron. It involved Neil deGrasse Tyson. But this is more evidence of the exact same thing. If you dig into the fucking history of Elon Musk, he hasn't innovated anything personally. There's very few things that even his companies have innovated, but those things were not by him. All he is a fucking like piggy bank. The actual intelligent people might work for him, but he's an idiot, like a complete fucking moron. And again, we go back into this hilarious thing that especially people in the United States, for whatever reason, like you guys have fucking, I say you guys, I'm one of you, but you've like lost the ability to think critically at all. You think that if someone, especially like you take amount of wealth and the higher it goes, the more intelligent that person is. That's the stupidest thing that you could possibly ever fucking think. Like there is no correlation at all. When you're wealthy, you don't have to be intelligent. You can pay for intelligence. Like hell, just Trump is a good example of this. Not only is like the one thing people kept saying is, yeah, he's stupid and he don't know shit about anything, but he's a great businessman. And that means that he can help the economy. Now, one, if he were a great businessman, that doesn't mean he's going to help the economy. Great businessmen are great businessmen because they're greedy and they don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. It's why they succeed in the first place. So, but that's one part there, why it's stupid to think shit like this. Now, the second part is it's not even fucking true. The guy filed bankruptcy 4 fucking times because he absolutely sucks at business. The only successes he ever made was when he realized that he needs to rely on smarter people rather than himself. And I've said this many times. I'll say it again because it's like the most hilarious thing to me. He failed at a fucking casino. Casinos are literally mathematically designed to win more than they lose. If you fail at a fucking casino, I don't even need to say anything else. Like you can't do anything. So the fact of the matter is, it's really not that difficult to make more money if you already have money. You don't have to be intelligent. It's not even anywhere near a requirement. So anyhow, I think that takes care of that. The other thing I wanted to cover is the hilarity of I covered like why it was a bad idea to do the TikTok ban, and apparently Trump's trying to save it or something. I don't know that much about that. I think if he is, then there's some sort of there's got to be something in it for him. I don't know exactly what his plan is or what he's scheming, but I mean, if it's just saving it and that's it because he just wants to be like, hey, I did something great, then fuck, I'll give him credit. That's awesome. But I have a sneaking suspicion that there's something involved here and it's going to end up fucking people more than helping them. But before any of that, that's like not entirely fleshed out yet. The Congress pushing so hard to get rid of TikTok because they were telling the truth about, mainly it's because of telling the truth about Gaza and Israel, and Israel got pissed off and said, hey guys, we pay you a bunch of money, take care of this, fucking take care of this platform, you're not controlling it, the narrative needs to be controlled, so Israel looks like they're good. And so of course the United States was like, oh shit, jump, how high? And then they've tried to destroy it, and they succeeded, at least in Congress. So what has happened as a result? So as I already covered, the owner of TikTok, I can't remember the actual country, I've forgotten already, I have a terrible memory, but it's not China. He's not fucking Chinese. So they made all this shit up and tried to like make it like it's Chinese fucking like spying or whatever, even though like most, like pretty much every social media platform spies and it's not even a secret. Like they're not even particularly egregious on TikTok. So obviously that's not the case. They just wanted to be able to control the narrative. They didn't want people to know the truth about what Israel's doing. So what happened when they banned it? Insane amounts of fucking Americans flocked to a app called Red Note. Now this is hilarious because Red Note is actually owned by China. And what has happened as a result is Americans en masse are learning that all of the shit that they've been told about China, all of like the slave labor, the fucking like even I commented on this because I thought it was true. And a lot of this I thought was true. Like the death vans, like they'll go around and like fucking delete you and shit and you'll just disappear one day, all that stuff. Tiananmen Square, and I plan on making another video specifically just on China because I've done a lot of digging and there's a lot of information to cover that I can't all put in this one video. But just to summarize here, the hilarity that they wanted to control the narrative and destroy free speech just so they could like have like basically state controlled media after all the shit they've talked about Russia for that. And it has had completely the opposite effect. Now Americans are like jumping on fucking Red Note, which is actually Chinese controlled media. And they're learning that China's actually, in comparison to the United States, in many ways, fucking awesome. And all of these people that have been lied to for so long are now like completely losing trust in like this Western propaganda. Like it's fucking hilarious. Anyhow, didn't really plan on popping up a video and covering anything on the Red Note deal, but I encourage you, maybe I'll cover it later, but I encourage you to look into this. Look into Red Note and Westerners like digging into it due to the TikTok ban and how they've been like fucking, now they're like, dude, China's based. It's fucking great. Thank you for your time.